Hello, thank you for joining me in this sharing. The question that is presented today is, how does one find inspiration? How does one find inspiration? Please give me one moment to receive source energy, known to me as the grand universe, a collective consciousness to assist ones with compassion and kindness, love for oneself and Mother Earth. We are here. We are here. We are here eager to share, eager to share. Tracy, the channel, is truly wanting to provide the best that she can provide. She is quite fussy and understanding. She does not have the technical means for the lighting and the sound, and she gets a little bit worked up thinking it looks amateur, if you will, but it is. So it is. But it is the best way that she can communicate with the resources that she has. So, how does one find inspiration? How does one find inspiration? How does one become inspired? Where does it come from? Where does inspiration come from? And it is a question to ponder, because so often ones have these grand, brilliant, fascinating, captivating, compelling ideas. And they think about it long enough to talk themselves right out of it. Well, it's an idea, pulled it out of the sky, don't know where I pulled it from. And ones may say, well, that sounds like a great idea, but you couldn't possibly pull it off. You couldn't possibly, where would you start? Sort of like building a castle in the air. Where do you start? Well, you start with your imagination. You start with an idea. You start with being inspired. So the first thing that we want you to hear, if you will, is to understand that if you had the idea, it is yours. It is yours to hold. It is yours to nurture. You are not presented with an idea of inspiration we're speaking about that isn't part of who you are. It just doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like you get an idea that is so outrageous that you truly are most likely not capable of achieving. The ideas that you get, especially the ones in the flash or the ones that you just want to work at, you keep thinking about it, can't put it down. Where does it come from? Inspiration. Like your beautiful loving light, it is held within. It is held within to be nurtured. So think of an idea, a brilliant idea, one that captivates you. When we say captivates you, one that gets you excited. You've had the idea and it inspires you. It excites you. You feel joy in your heart. You start to think about how life would be if you would have it or achieve it or live it or experience it. And wouldn't it be grand if? That feeling is the seed, if you will, that is planted within who you are. Where does the seed come from? Creation, your desired creation. And when you can connect it to the grand creation, miracles happen. Miracles happen. So think of a seed. You're wanting to plant a seed to watch the growth. So what would one have to do? One would find soil that is fertile soil to plant the seed in. One would place the seed and give it water, place it in the sunlight, and allow time to watch the growth. So while you're waiting sort of for the seed to show the growth, you can't dig it up to see if it is coming to life, if you will. But you have an understanding that if you nurture it and give it all the right conditions, you will have the beautiful plant in which you were expecting. So we want to use this metaphor because inspiration is like that. You have the idea, you have the seed, it is planted firmly within you. It is yours with the knowing that it can flourish, with the knowing that it can flourish under the right conditions. Now, what are the right conditions? How does one nurture an idea? They have an idea. How do I get it from A to B? How do I get it from my head into tangible evidence? And the process starts. Now, when one is feeling uninspired, they don't feel that they have truly very much to grow, if you will. They have truly convinced themselves that little inspires them. And it goes right back to the beginning segments and right back to what we have been saying. It is the layers that cover up. Think of the seed that you hold within, of all your wishes, your desires. They're all unique to you. You are unique in the whole. You are a piece of the puzzle, creating a magnificent portrait. But you're equipped with your own creation. You're equipped with your own desires, your own wishes. And what you wish for, what you desire, what you wish to create, another does not. Another wants to create something different. It would be as if all the flowers planted would all be the same. No, variety, the beauty among the fields of flowers. Think of its souls like that. Think of your creation, a beautiful, magnificent flower to be shared with the world. How can one not be inspired? The answer to that question is the layers that cover up one's inner brilliance. We've mentioned before, and we don't want to be repetitive, but it is of such grand truth. Condemning and harsh words to oneself truly are the layers that cover it. So you have this brilliant idea, you truly do, you are inspired, it's woken you up, you're driving and you have this idea, you're in the shower and boom, you have the idea. And you start thinking about it, and the more you think about it, the more excited you get. That's when you know. And then what happens? You start thinking about it so much, and then you start talking yourself out of it. Or, as previously mentioned, someone comes along, lets you know. You can't do that. You don't have the skills to do that. What are you, just building castles in the air? And we want to say to you, build the castle in the air. Build the castle in the air. Once it is in your knowing, in your imagination, when you can see what you are wanting to create, that is using imagination. That is your imagination. That is the idea. You can see what you want. Ones will drive by vacant land and they see the building. They see what they want to create. So build the castle in the air. Because once it is built in your imagination, once it is truly firmly planted and the knowing that you can achieve, it's going to take the nurturing. It's going to take the nurturing. So the question was, where does inspiration come from? How does one find inspiration? when one is not inspired, or they were once inspired about an idea, starting to play an instrument, wanting to achieve great things, and life goes on and it just didn't happen, and they became uninspired. They didn't be on stage as they wanted to be, just an example. And then become uninspired with the creation that they were so understanding was there. What then? Or how many will say, yes, I had an idea, it was a grand idea, I built it, I made it happen, and in the process, I lost it. In the process, I lost the business, or the business didn't flourish, or I fill in the blank. When one is inspired to create. Now, here is sort of the trick, if you will, and it's not really a trick, but there's sort of a little more for another step, especially if you've lost something you were so knowing it would be yours, or you used your imagination and you pictured yourself on stage with a crowd cheering and clapping. We're just using an example. Or you started a business and it was not successful and you had to close the doors. Again, we're just using examples. What now? How do you get inspired now? How do you get inspired to pick up your instrument again when truly the whole thing just left you feeling very disappointed and discouraged, beating upon yourself? The business that was opened and wanting so much to flourish, knowing you could do it, knowing you had it, knowing in time it just did not flourish. It did not, the seed grew into what it was, but it couldn't stay alive. Now think about that. Think about what we just said. Why is that? Why is that? Everything has a time. If you think of the flower that was planted by the seed you had, the flower has a span, a lifespan, a natural span of when it starts, it flourishes. Oh, it's brilliant, it's beautiful, it's everything it's meant to be. And all of a sudden you see in a natural state the leaves falling to the ground and the petals falling to the ground. You're not disappointed. You're not disappointed because you understood of the natural life it was to have. Now, when ones are inspired and they know they have it, and it doesn't happen with time, or they lose it, or it just doesn't have the outcome that one wanted to have. And then they become uninspired. And in this being uninspired, a lot of times, many times, most times, it trickles into everything one is going to do. Well, I started that business, it didn't work. I'm not going to start another business. I'm not going to do this either. No, I failed. I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I failed at it. I was so sure it was going to work. I stood on stage, and before I could sing my song, I was overwhelmed with the atmosphere, overwhelmed with the ones looking at me, waiting for me to sing a song. And I froze. They don't want it again. They don't want the experience again. But what happened in the time of having it flourish and then having it sort of fall to the ground, using the metaphor, leaves falling to the ground? Ones took the opportunity to truly condemn themselves and take themselves to task. Should have done better, should have known better, shouldn't have opened up that business, shouldn't have thought I was a singer, shouldn't have thought I should get on stage, shouldn't have. And again, we mentioned it time and time again. It is condemning words, harsh words to oneself that takes the inspiration away. So, with all that being said, How does one find inspiration when they're not feeling inspired? Like joy, one must be in search for it. One must be in search for it and understand that if the seed is there, it can be cultivated. So you tried and it didn't have the outcome you thought, but think of what you have learned. Think about all the growth in the process. Think about the growth. Now, another opportunity to plant another seed. It is within you if you have the inspiration. Again, you're asking, we don't have the inspiration. How do we get it? It's there. But remove the layers. You must remove the layers to feel it. And one of the best things, and we said it in the last segment, and we'll say it many times, it is the condemnation, the harsh judgments placed upon one's being, either from themselves or from another. Or from another. So the audience doesn't clap. Ooh, that's condemning. That's harsh. That's harsh. The business, the doors. Nobody bought the product. That's condemning. That's harsh. Think about it. Just think about it. Do not let it prevent you from doing something else or trying it again. And how does one get inspired to try something again when it did feel like it failed? To realize that it wasn't a failure in the first place. To realize it was growth, like the flower. It was growth, understanding. It is paving the way for further growth, more knowledge, more understanding of the process. To become inspired, one must remove the layers. Many times the layers are talking ones out because they condemn themselves. I'm not good enough, can't do it, I'm not deserving of, whatever the words are. So mindful of your words. Now, we wanted to keep these segments shorter. Tracy was wanting to keep the segments shorter, knowing there's so much information that is shared. She says it's like a drop in the ocean. But again, if we have inspired one soul, think of it as the sun shining upon you. Think about it as receiving all good things from above, from the heavens, if you will. Where does the rain come from? Where does the sun come from? Where does the fertile soil come from? All for you to grow. Grow. Grow all you can. Think about it. We're just sharing these segments for ones to ponder. And if you have a brilliant idea and it inspires you every time you think about it, and perhaps you get frightened when you take a step towards it, think about why you're getting frightened. Think about why you're getting frightened. A very good chance unkind words to diminish the light that you hold. Ponder it. Ponder it. So with that, we'll conclude our segment. There is great love for you. Thank you.